After a few minor technical issues, the broadcast event for the poetry experiment, what is the official title of this whole thing?
Page to Stage.
That's right. Page to Stage is about to begin.
It is, at the Audio Foundation.
But waiting for me to come.
Hello and welcome to the pilot session of Page to Stage radio show on Audio Foundation. My name is Gus Simonovic, and what you just heard is Rosanna Raymond, one of our mentors. She's in London, but we're privileged to have her recording of the piece Sleeping with Mountains, which was a part of our Terra Found in Translation piece show just finished in Basement. Also, we have a number of mentors and mentees coming and going, joining us here in the studio for the poetic spoken word extravaganza. And I will introduce them, or I will let them introduce themselves, starting with Angela King.
Hello, my name is Angela King. I am a poet, and I'm really excited to be part of this program and to be working with so many fantastic writers.
I'm Raewyn Alexander. I'm a writer and a lecturer, and I've been involved in poetry for a long time, since I can remember, I think. It's great to be here.
Greetings and salutations, disciples of the ether. My name is Gray Burton, and I'm a weird cat with some weird words.
Thank you guys. We were all mentioning Page to Stage. I just briefly introduced the program. It's a mentorship program that's designed to team up four of mentees and four mentors into teams of two, and they will be working the whole year on developing new material and new type of material. So for spoken word artists, for poets, to develop longer pieces that they will lead to a feature show. Now we have a first live performance of the day. Angela King is going to perform her piece about the scientist, Marie Curie. Welcome.
Thank you, Gus. This is a piece called I Conceive, and it alternates sections from the lives of Marie Curie and Margaret Cavendish. Number 1, 1645, Paris. At the court of the exiled queen, Margaret Lucas reads and shivers. Scribbling badly spelled and illegible poetry by candlelight, she dreams as thoroughly in the filthy Louvre, despite the whispers of French maids in waiting, as when she walked alone in the Colchester gardens of home. She dreams of publication. She will not live like an owl or die like a worm. No woman can use her brain without spoiling her womb, but Margaret will be the ludicrous comet boding mischief wherever she goes. Her fiancé, the middle-aged traitor and marquis, woos her with his poverty. Two, 1891, Paris. Each ruble Manya has saved has brought her here. 6 years as a governess, studying science illicitly at the floating university. She enrolls as Marie at the Sorbonne. In a succession of attics, she huddles under thin blankets, hurrying to chalk and frock-coated lecture halls, austere laboratories, and oil-lit libraries. Surrounded by young men she barely sees. She sucks up each bare and beautiful fact, as she never could in Russian Poland. 3. 1653, in London. Margaret has failed to claim a portion of her husband's estates, sold by Cromwell. She is barren, but words fruit for her, and Newcastle writes from exile in Antwerp to permit her to publish. Even male authors circulate their work in manuscript. Report dresses her in 100 mad fashions. What does she know of the science of astronomy, alchemy, atoms? She pleads for a defence woman will not provide. She tells herself what she creates has greater value, although smaller worth. She returns to her cavalier without money, her brother-in-law dying alone, and the author of 2 publications. 4. 1902 in Paris. Doubt is the scientist's first response. And 4 years since claiming the probable existence of radium, Marie has boiled, poured and smelted ore in a broken shed. Tonight she takes her husband's hand and sneaks out of the small house her daughter sleeps in to see the blue luminescence of pure radium. In the dark shed their faces are faintly lined with light. Already Marie's papers are soaking radioactivity to become too dangerous to handle. Her blood is slowly poisoning itself. Her husband touches Marie's hair lightly in the dark. 5. 1661, Nottinghamshire. The Duchess of Newcastle retires with her husband from London to Welbeck. Her published restoration plays are too immodest for a woman. She changes into Mistress Bashful, scholars, soldiers, lovers, friends, in her closet with pen and ink. Outside the Well of Helicon, she dresses in breeches and vest, makes legs to the ground to greet friends, or dons gowns of brocade with owls of silver gauze and pyramids. People line the streets to see her carriage. 6. 1917, Paris. Marie drives through the mud to hospitals in her mobile X-ray truck. Broken and shot men pass through temporary rooms under her precise eye. Dulled by 9 years, she still sees Pierre's body fresh from the wagon wheels, and 2 months later, the open parcel of his clothing, crusted with cobblestone mud and the spattered blood and brain matter of the man who learned Polish to please her. With her sister, she destroyed it, kissing each piece before burning it into ash. The days of working opposite a broad desk until 3 a.m. are gone. She teaches his course on physics until the duty to her adopted country calls her out. 7. 1667 in London. In her matching dress, carriage and servants, all black and silver, she visits London to see Robert Boyle demonstrate a vacuum and the microscope. She's the first woman to enter the Royal Society. She and her husband are the virtuoso in the protégé Shadwell's satire. Margaret's biography of Newcastle has even turned a profit. If they want patronage, poor men praise her. The curiosity and laughter of men follow her wherever she goes. 8. 1921 in New York. At 54, Marie is thin and sad from her austerities. A nun of science, she does not even use the word I in her scientific publications. $100,000 would buy 1 gram of radium for her research, so an American admirer raises the funds in return for an official tour. Inside the roar of adulation, she's stunned and frightened, her wrist injured by Fan's hearty handshake. President Harding presents imitation radium to her for the cameras. The real gift is too dangerous and too precious. 9. 1717 in London. After her death, the elderly Newcastle writes poems in a trembling hand to a ghostly she. His money prevents ridicule while he lives, but 40 years later, Margaret inspires the half-praised Phoebe Plinkett, like any learned woman on the stage, prudish, pretentious and dirty. ink in her hair and a maid with a desk on her back. Hold, Phoebe says, I conceive. Educated ladies beg their daughters to conceal their learning as lameness. Bitter, rambling, conceited, Margaret's work begins to swell the hearts of clever girls. 10, 1934 and so. Only her family and friends are there, reporters hiding behind the tombstones, and the woman with radiation burns and a massive forehead is buried above her husband. To placate feminists, she will be reinterred 60 years later at the Pantheon. Her second daughter writes of the true criminal, radium, burning through her maid like love's dedication.
Thank you. Angela is, I can't say undiscovered. She's been discovered now, but a star of the up-and-coming star of the spoken word scene in Auckland. I've seen her a few months ago, shyly braving onto the open mic, and she's been shining since then on a number of occasions. So thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that. What was the inspiration to go into this in-depth exploration of Marie Curie?
Thank you, Gus. Marie Curie and Margaret Cavendish have both been inspirations, I suppose, to me since I was growing up. I mean, Marie is a scientist and Margaret is a writer. Both really struggled in their time to be taken seriously, and in Margaret's case in particular, to even be educated. Margaret couldn't even spell, but she was a born writer and she worked to do what she was born to do. And Marie as well worked again really hard to get the life that she wanted to, in both cases, to build a family life as well and try and do everything. And both really suffered but achieved so much. And I think their stories are really important to just keep fresh in our minds.
That's what fascinates me is that, your choice of topic, because most of the writers, especially young writers, really talk about their own experiences and immediate things around them, and you venture into something like this. And is that your norm, or is this like, what is your usual, if I may ask that, what is your usual topic, or what usually inspires you to write?
Well, I've written a lot about my own life, and I still do that, and the things that worry me or that I love at the time. But in the past year or two, I have started exploring narratives and stories about other people, because I find that it brings a less self-conscious, I think, view on life. For me, I find that's the kind of writing. The kind of writing that I want to read is the story of other people. That's what interests me, and crafting poems that express those lives, especially lives of people that could have been overlooked or forgotten, but are quite relevant. That's the direction that I want to go at the moment, and so that's what I'm working on.
Fantastic. And briefly, just wanted to ask you a question about your process of, if you started something completely new for the page to stage, or you are rethinking some material that you worked in the past. I've heard some of your work at the first Invoice and Music live event a couple of weeks ago, House with Raven. Is that the direction that you're taking, or can you tell us a little bit more about what you're planning for this year?
I have a piece that I'm starting to work on. It's an idea that I've had for quite a while, and it follows on from what I've done recently and from the piece I've just read. And it's focusing on the lives of three women, New Zealand women writers, Robin Hyde, Catherine Mansfield and Janet Frame. And again, these are three inspirational women who really struggled and suffered and have achieved wonderful things. And I think by bringing these stories and their experiences into poetry and performing that poetry again, it's just helping it reconnect with readers and myself as a writer, just bringing these stories again into my own experience as well. So that's what I'm going to be working on this year, and I hope to make it something really meaningful that will last.
Most fascinating, epic. Thank you so much. And yes, we're back live at Audi Foundation with our next live performer. One of my favourite New Zealand poets, Raven Alexandra, is going to read a piece for us. You ready, Raven? Go for it.
Thanks, Gus. I'm reading pieces that are about adventure, being adventurous and courageous, because Angela writes about adventurous, courageous women. So even though my poetry is more about contemporary life, I think that they resonate because of her work, so we're inspiring each other in some ways. The Hendricks School of Music. This fashion professor said, in the morning, going to get that first cup of coffee, the guitar already around his neck. True, to be great at anything, practice over and over. A nurse on the phone, its fear of intimacy, falling in love with unattainable people, someone across the other side of the world, or already married, emotionally distant, foreign, difficult, or all of those. Blue words on a website, fear of intimacy, based on traumatic, painful experience, into me, see. Behaviour dictated by childhood wounds, toxic shame. We believe we're broken, but we are not ruined. Permanent personal defectiveness is a lie. New York City is the place where, 1. A vampire dressed as a 10-year-old drinks cider in a blue neon bar beside a corporate pilot with jet picks for bait, while the barmaid once from Waitomau pogoed the length of 100 plus years. Streets roar all evening with unknown names. Leave your origin at the train station. The crowd may call you anything. Yellow taxis swarm for money. Faces with such geography float by. The hotel front desk guy in lavender. Pedestrians eye the trash bins. Soho red pistol earring boutique. Bookshop cafe with the smallest tables. New Zealand accent provoked socialising. This city swallows every morsel offered. New York City condoms and pistachio pastry digested. Chinese restaurant pushing drunks out the door. A Lower East Side lawn caged fear. Cafe doors, the yawns of monsters. He'd warned her she'd be eaten alive. Post office queue woman chewed gum, black sass and all white stretch dazzle. Over a hillock in a sidewalk garden to eat. Mailing creatures to friends. Bulged the cardboard box a little. Perspex shields opened and closed. Outside the blue postbox and graffiti, homeless people draped in utensils. Taxi driver with his tongue between his teeth. 2. MoMA fed me revolutionary paint, sculpture of a woman falling into water. I kissed a man during Andy Warhol's kissing film, someone wrote with felt-tip pen. A cafe couple battered soft questions at each other. Bright pink cattle pasted up the stairs. 9 statements chalked by people from a country at war on video. I will turn it all into a picnic. The dark room besides full of screens. Hunker down banks with wrap-around dark windows. A rabbit man met by Grand Central's clock turned me local with a subway ride. Punk rock history unreeled behind us. Deli food and a discussion about guns. Lost, then found our way to Strawberry Fields. The rickshaw driver bargained with using silence, Glitter paintings appeared wholly in an artist's 72nd Street railway apartment. Lantern flames outside the Dakota, overlooking Imagine Circle and guitars. Central Park, a mecca of walking. Moved the hydrangea to see a brass plaque. Isaac Newton's portrait in Pete's Tavern, the oldest New York bar, black and white. Poetry luncheon sat beside a geneticist. I cried later to hear the Brownings, recorded by Broadway stars with music. The cold counter plastered in curved posters, discovered a Jack Kerouac school flyer, disembodied poetics on yellow and red in the Bowery Poetry Club. Thought about Miles in France emailing everyone insane there as far as I know. Cab drivers dither as if they're the strangers. A Russian manicurist didn't take cards. One taxi nearly drove off with my bag. I smacked its boot and swore murder. People across the way in Cafe Sunshine bundled the street into our pockets. ATM machine shuffles money into a stack. Hailing a ride from the roadside, discovered a spiked leather creature, kindly nodded, back seat of a cab, while Chinatown held slower directions than a golden bank foyer on Park Avenue. A pizza box can get some people in anywhere. 3. Tall New York Times board on a corner, took home richer sections to give away, left a bag of change and lilies in the room, dollar notes strewn on the bed, air conditioners rattled, silent. Carpeted hotel corridors lit out. When departure descended like a bat, so many said to stay with them. I was offered a job in a city garden, then cave walk and wheel to the bus. Cell phone died on the ride to Newark. Pulled places wide with railings and windows. Leaving New York City, the finish and a start. Contradictions in the way of the view. Enormous grey bridges and stretched water. A roll of knowing too much to say, kept in the dark of my skull camera. Wake a talk while the sighs play. Shoo-ba-doo, honey. And the title of that's from a Lou Reed song, Walk on the Wild Side. Some people may have recognised it. This is the last one. Why does that guitar song start up? Every time I consider we may not work out. Early afternoon but darker on a low wind desert. Someone walks into shimmering away. Their shape loses form but not sense. Loose limbs and good boots. A wide-brimmed hat so no one can see their eyes. While distance twangs lost tightens, someone tunes the strings, an instrument in an otherwise empty theatre. Nebula, thousands of light years far here in a telescope. Star bullet holes puncture evening, a brilliant room. Looking up stretches the spine, my chin above tears. Music stands in for possibility. Melody holds and releases at the same time. Reaches into the unthinkable empty and rings.
Also, just curious, we were talking about New York the other day. Is this something fairly new, or is it something that's been in your head?
It's a recent trip that I did last year, around about this time last year. And I went across the Pacific Ocean on a boat and across America, mainly by train, to visit writer friends I'd only ever known online for about 12 years. I'm very close to a lot of them. And New York was the last place. They happened to live in places from one side of the country to the other. So it took a month to go over there. And that was a poem about that. I'm writing a collection based on that trip at the moment.
Fascinating. I really love that snapshot that it gave, like an insight into good and bad. And people usually kind of think of New York as like, from pictures that we see, but there's a lot of stuff going on in that town. Raven is one of the mentors, as we mentioned at the beginning, and she's teamed up with Angela, which we just heard. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you girls are cooking?
Well, hopefully we've already got the ingredients, and we're just going to somehow find a method of making it all work and making something spectacular that's to most people's appetite, or if not, at least it's going to get their attention. I think showcasing Angela King's work is a privilege. I'm really pleased to hear and read her work. I'm very excited about it. It's been very inspiring, and we've all got lots of ideas, and we're just sifting through them now and coming up with something we hope is fresh and going to showcase the actual writing, because we think the writing is the most important thing.
Fantastic. They do have a very hands-on approach. The first performance, they made paper airplanes and shared the poems, performed the poems and then shared them on paper with the audience, which was quite amusing. And people were fighting for a piece of paper to take it away. So that was quite astonishing to see. I'm sure that you'll be coming up with many of these stunts throughout the year for the next performances. Actor and a theatre producer have decided to dedicate some of his time to poetry and to teaching young artists to skills that he knows, but at the same time he's reignited his passion for poetry and started writing, and we're very excited to have him, and he's going to share a couple of poems with us now. You ready? Great.
I don't know if anyone's ever ready for this kind of thing, but I'm going to share you some words I fished out of my closet. They're from the collected works of Joseph J. Arkman. I used to write under a pen name of a character, Joseph J. Arkman, a poet. And also around his poems I would write poetic narratives about his situation. So here are some bizarre cuttings from those words. The child had a quizzical look. If only the big people had more toys, there wouldn't be the ugly upside-down smiles that aren't friendly. A deep and definite truth the child had. A dream of travelling within a dream. Arkman turned to himself and said, "The only question is the only question." Birdwalker fights the tide. Beams break through the clouds to help it on its way. The warm shine washing on my skin heats the soul. Deep in the mangrove, sharing the haven, the earth washes its skin in different waters. The boat aches, full of heavy burden. The crowd obscures my view. That's okay. I don't want to say goodbye anyway. Another delay. Another apology. The South doesn't want to let go. A notorious spy of the northern bounds lingered close to Arkman. He thought the jig is up, damn it. I'd better come clean. Arkman, about to speak, saw the right-hand briefcase of the spy notorious and realized there's larger fish at work here. It's bigger than the both of me. The southern wave. The southern wave is different from the northern wave. The hand reaches a little further. The desperate grasp of the true love realized too late. The fingers caress the hillsides in final embrace. The hand closes empty, and the ferry takes you northward on a southern wave. One day, one way, one road, one home, one life to roam. I'm thinking thoughts. In the half-life, in the libido, I'm thinking thoughts. Music reaches through my ears and plucks the strings behind my eyes. Beat. Beat. The beat of the brain. Beat. Beat. The slow blink, the easy gaze, the sly wink, the grey haze. A sign of mind, the time and particle facing north of numb free riding. The look of blank astonishment, half his face across the stage. Into the pleasure of the lilt and tilt of the water of the lilt and tilt of the pleasure I'm into. Retreating from the legs of the woman I love, Lady South welcomes more strange visitors. The bus, full of energy and excitement, teems with life around me. I sit in the aisle seat, discouraging company. The woman next to me looks like sitting in the seat is the hardest thing in her life. I hear hearts breaking in the starting rumble of the bus driver counting now, in a rush brushing me, not handling the stress, leaving now, into darkness. Queer is the only description. Arkman thought of long-distance bus travel and said packed meat spoils over long distances. Horses gallop through my head. Flamenco fantasy fires my mind.
Talking to our next guest, Jess Holly Bates, another rising star of Afm Poetry scene. She's a guest poet at Poetry Live next week. Guys, it's a Tuesday night, Thirsty Dog, K Road. Come and check her out. And in the meantime, we're just going to have a taster of her newest piece. Yes.
Newest piece will be some sort of illusion, I think, but we'll run with what I have. Pākehā identity poetry must be some kind of joke. A guilty antidote, a soapbox story bleached too keen, telling flattering tales of a country we mean to stake claim in the ground for a paradise we found. A wilderness unpeopled, sublime for the take. We longed to belong, so we borrowed this land. What was yours, we now own, and your culture we've canned, assembled in Taiwan to manufacturing plans, distributed in Mangere by warm Pacific hands, shelved in Ponsonby by left-wing fans of Matauranga Māori. A liberal Labour love, we trade in the traditional to atone for our kin, because us honky horde are no different from them. Maori, Pākehā, who's counting, man? We're from here too, so get used to it, cuz. Because we're telling this story and we're making it ours. Yeah, Pākehā identity poetry must be some kind of farce. I mean, I am Pākehā. How did I get here? I've been to Rio. I speak te reo. Oh, kia ora e hoa, 100% pure. A cold-pressed monoculture of extra virgin soil. A permacultural toil of tokenised tikanga. Fishing for my patriotism in the dirt under my titirangi fingernails. So yes, I've got a problem with this white woman shtick. On stage, indignant, indige, inidenti poetic. It's a click-clack kit to this lucky country, a lunchbox mythology of my lad sandwich past, because this is how I hear the question when asked, tell me your whakapapa Pākehā. Tell me what your people came on. Give me your tall-tailed trawl through Brit-breed histories and white land insufficiencies, the hippocampus hysterectomies you had to perform on your Earth Mother to make you come and borrow mine. Oh, you can feed your children here because, unlike you, Papa Tuanuku's colourblind. Yeah, I can sustain my fallopian fantasy feminisms and applaud those Māori Renaissance revisions, but does it really implode my prejudicial expectations of what colonial interventions look like? Pākehā identity poetry is a joke, as if with one keystroke I can erase the stink of the bullshit that beds in this place. Identity poetry, I'm too white for this form. This potluck of privilege is a pockmark for scorn. It's a flaccid cop-out to a fucking cock-up, a crosscast of tangata whenua as us. This nasty nostalgia, it must come unstuck if we want to take stock of this country of luck. Don't we know all this doesn't belong to just us?
Thank you. Oh, no wonder that you're most talked about young poet in Auckland. How does it feel being, are you ready for next Tuesday? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm preparing my board. I've got my collaborations ready. We're going to do some exciting, pretty crazy stuff. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Keep it secret. Yes, and there's another very exciting thing that happened to you very recently. You've been teamed up with Rosanna Raymond. Is that correct? Yeah. We've heard Rosanna at the beginning of the show. She's a very well-known poet and performance artist. And how much do you know about her? Have you been in touch, and have you started process of page-to-stage development this year?
We've started engaging and started some dialogue. Yeah, it's a bit unusual. My situation's different, obviously. She's based in London, so we've got to set up the Skype system and be emailing and stuff, which is going to make me technologically savvy. But yeah, I'm really excited to be placed with her. I think that we share some common concerns thematically, and I think she'll be really wonderful for my performance and my ability to collaborate. That's why I'm really excited about her pushing my boundaries in terms of the style of performing that I'm going to do, and also the format, because she's done some video work, and I just think that's fabulous and really exciting. So much of what I do is open mic and live, so it's going to be really exciting for me. Yeah. I think I'm looking forward to Tuesday, because this extravaganza I'm putting on at Thirsty Dog is going to inform Rosanna about where my practice is at, so it's a really concise way for her to see everything that I've got, and that's making me lift my game.
Well, fantastic. Is there like a specific team that you are kind of developing, or are you thinking of some sort of direction? Just give us. I mean, you're so multi-talented. You can just collaborate with yourself. You're a dancer, you're an actor. You can. But is there a certain direction, at least, that you want to go into?
This year I've made my concern, that poem that I read before was part of a Rising Voices crew that I came out of in 2010, so it's a little bit of an old poem, but that was an old concern of mine, a problem with the form, a problem with the place in it, and I think now I'm feeling, after seeing some of the stuff coming out of the Bowery Poetry Club, actually, specifically Sarah Kay, I've been really excited about the form of magic in a spoken word, and I really want to walk this tightrope between the magical and the visceral, and so I think that Rosanna will be really good for keeping that tension alive. So yeah, that's what I want to explore this year.
Very, very insightful. I thank you very much. Looking forward to Tuesday, and looking forward to all the developments over next year.